From the National Newsroom of the Canadian Press, I'm John Kennedy. The United States Department of Homeland Security is amending its policy to require all non-citizens to be photographed when they enter and exit the United States. The new security regulations apply to Canadians and are expected to take force on December 26th, although it could take several years to fully implement the proposed system. The Canadian Civil Liberties Association expressed alarm over the policy change, calling facial recognition a flawed and intrusive technology. Ontario Premier Doug Ford says his anti-tariff ad campaign was, quote, the best ad that ever ran. The ad pushed U.S. President Donald Trump to axe all trade talks with Canada, and the Premier says he won't apologize, using it to push back on U.S. tariffs that have threatened auto sector jobs in his province. Ford says his intention was to warn the American public that Trump's trade war is going to cost them. He says he doesn't believe Trump ended the talks over the ad alone, suggesting the U.S. president would do anything and everything to avoid striking a deal. Notices of rising health insurance premiums in the U.S. are landing in voter mailboxes, sending some to town halls to vent their frustration. Republicans have offered fewer answers, saying they won't negotiate until Democrats end the shutdown.
With notices reflecting expiring Obamacare tax credits now going out, Senate Democratic leader Chuck Schumer says Americans on the exchange plans will sit at their kitchen tables with sticker shock.
And say, how the heck can we pay these bills?
House Speaker Mike Johnson says the health care cost issue is too complicated to be addressed quickly. He insists negotiations can proceed if Senate Democrats vote to fund the government.
But we can't do it while they're shutting the government down to appease the Marxists. That's it.
Stephen Portnoy, ABC News, Washington.
Hurricane Melissa is expected to make landfall in Jamaica this week as a Category 5 storm. At that strength, it will be the strongest hurricane to hit the island since record-keeping began in 1851. The storm is already being blamed for 6 deaths in the northern Caribbean as it continues to barrel toward the island. Melissa is expected to pass over Jamaica and come ashore in Cuba later on Tuesday before heading toward the Bahamas. 23-year-old Hannah McLeod of Kingston says she boarded up the windows at her home and stocked up on foodstuffs and candles. Canadian icon Anne Murray is pulling for the Toronto Blue Jays as they go for their first World Series title in 32 years. The series is tied at 1-1 heading into tonight's game in Los Angeles. Murray sang the Canadian national anthem at Game 3 of the 1992 World Series and says she's been glued to her TV set watching this year's series.
Come on. Of course I've been watching the games.
What's that?
It makes me nervous, though.
Why?
Because I want them to win so badly.
Murray is in Nashville currently for a tribute to her career at the Grand Ole Opry. This is the Canadian Press. In sports, the World Series between the Toronto Blue Jays and the Los Angeles Dodgers is all tied up heading into tonight's game in Los Angeles. The teams split the first 2 games in Toronto, with the Jays opening the series with a powerful 11-4 rout of LA before the Dodgers responded with a 5-1 win on Saturday. Tonight's pitching matchup sees Toronto's Max Scherzer take on the Dodgers' Tyler Glasnow. The Ottawa Senators are set to host the Boston Bruins in a matchup of Atlantic Division rivals. The Senators picked up with their second straight win on Saturday with a 7-1 thumping of the Capitals in Washington. In tonight's only other NHL game, the Pittsburgh Penguins host the St. Louis Blues. Week 8 of the NFL season will conclude in Kansas City tonight as the Chiefs host the Washington Commanders. The Chiefs have won the last 2 games in dominant fashion thanks to a resurgent offense led by Patrick Mahomes and the recently reinstated receiver Rashee Rice. From the Canadian Press, I'm John Kennedy.
Thanks for listening. Don't forget to follow and subscribe. For more of today's top stories, visit thecanadianpressnews.ca.